All right. Welcome back to the Shuttlecock podcast. My name is Aaron Rhodes, and we're sponsored by the Vinyl Underground at 7th Heaven at 76th and Troost in Kansas City, Missouri, offering new and used vinyl. This week on the show, we have Carlie Johnson, a.k.a. Calrie?
Yeah, that's it.
You just go Calrie, not calorie, or like...
Just Calrie.
Calrie.
Not calorie, calories. Not the food thing.
Yeah, you ever just get that messed up with...
Oh, yeah. They're like Calrie. Calrie is an interesting one. I've only gotten that one once, but Calrie.
Awesome. Yeah. And so you are originally from the Kansas City area. You went to Shawnee Mission South, right?
I did, yeah. Overland Park.
And that's how I first got to know you. Like, you were friends with Jack Marsh and Bennett Weaver, both who have been on the show before. Yeah. Shout out to them.
That was like 7th grade, man. I remember that.
No, yeah, it's been a second.
Yeah, no, they're great dudes. I'm really glad to be friends with them.
No, yeah, and but honestly, I was kind of thinking back on that like last night while I was getting ready, and I'm like, I honestly don't remember talking to Carlie that much about music at that point. I feel like we were just like kind of hanging out at Jack's house and just goofing around and shit. But
yeah, for real. Like I definitely wasn't, because when I think about that, I kind of think about Bennett and how he was so immersed in it at such a young age, and I always thought that was awesome, but I didn't really think that I could do that. I don't know, I just like didn't really see myself in that way. I would say that didn't really start for me until I kind of like left for school and was able to like be independent. Then I kind of started really, really picking it up and really getting into it. So yeah, definitely. I would say definitely Bennett like kind of was one of the reasons that I started getting interested in it though. So that's like really interesting that you brought that up. Cause I definitely used to, Bennett and I did a song together like a million years ago.
Oh, yeah?
It was like an instrumental song and it was really cool, but like I kind of like got in and saw his studio set up, and then I was like, shoot, maybe I want to do this. Like, and then eventually got there, and man, now we're here. That's wild.
Well, was that like his little like basement set up at his parents' house at that point?
Yeah, that's literally what it was. We were like both tiny. I think maybe like 6th grade or something, like 7th grade. I don't know. But yeah, it was. I mean, like it was like a home studio thing for sure.
And that's when you did the song together in like 6th or 7th grade?
Yeah, we did a song together like literally a million years ago, and I literally didn't do much at all. He did like everything, and I just kind of came in and like helped with a couple things and then left. But I was like, dang, like I was really proud of it, and I was like, that was really cool. And I hadn't thought about it in a million years, but I honestly think that like that kind of might be part of a reason why I really started getting into it and taking it seriously. So thanks, Bennett.
Right, but I'm trying to think though, because Bennett actually has like he was releasing stuff back in middle school, so I'm trying to think if like that would actually be out like on Bandcamp or like SoundCloud anywhere. Like I think I have most of everything he's like ever posted, so I might have to like dig through that and see if anything popped up.
I'm trying to remember what he called it. I think it was like interlude or something. It was like I think it might be on Spotify.
It does sound
somewhere.
familiar, yeah.
But like it was like at the beginning of one of his like old things. I think it might be on the one that like Yahweh is on.
Oh yeah, like maybe like one of his like Squidlet projects.
Yeah, no, it was definitely Squidlet. Oh my god, that was a million years ago.
I'm sure Bennett might not be happy about.
Sorry, Bennett.
But yeah, Squidlet rules. No,
he was good when we were like babies. That's like really weird. I wrote songs about aliens when I first started, so like some people just don't have it at the beginning, but I think he did, honestly. Like he was. I always thought that he was gonna do something, and now he's doing it. So that's really cool.
But were there like any like bands or like artists even back then that like kind of piqued your interest, even if you didn't think you would end up like kind of making music back then?
Yeah, for sure. Like, okay, so my childhood was kind of weird. I like went to Starlight all the time for shows. Like when I was like a baby, like my parents would just kind of take me, like, and I did that for like ever. They had like the whole like season ticket thing, and I like had been going to shows since I was literally like a baby. And so like I always kind of like thought that I like wanted to do that, but you know how it is when you're a kid. You're like, I just want to do that because like I'm around it all the time and like I should do that. But then I would say like once I got into high school and started kind of going to shows in Kansas City, I was like, shoot, this is really cool. I didn't think that I was going to be in a band. I never like really saw myself as that. I was in a band for like a minute, and it was really great. Like, it was a great experience, but like I wasn't writing the music, and that was kind of like, I kind of realized early on that wasn't really my thing, and I wanted to like be creative. But as far as like artists that I saw at that age that kind of piqued my interest, shoot, let me see. I would say that I didn't start like going to shows of like my own choice. Like, I had that situation with my parents that was awesome, and that was really helpful in like getting me interested in music and stuff. But the shows that I went to by choice were like my friends. Like, I went and saw Bennett's gonna kill me. I saw Bennett with like his band. Like, I remember in like 7th grade, and that
maybe
was,
at like the Refuge or at Yahweh.
Definitely at the Refuge. I remember that really vividly.
Real Johnson County teens know.
Oh yeah, only the real Johnson County teens know what the Refuge is. Is that even still a thing? Is that
I think it's closed now. Yeah.
Oh, it's closed. Damn. That was the most interesting place. Like,
so
I don't understand it at all still. But I definitely went to shows like that. I remember like I went to a couple things that Brooks Brown put on, and those were all really cool. I definitely like didn't have the like courage to go off and do it myself, but I was like, shoot, maybe someday I want to do this. And then, like, I mean, I obviously went to, like, Buzz shows and stuff, too, and then I kind of started getting into that community. And it was kind of a bummer because, like, right when I started getting into that, I kind of had to leave and go to Nashville. I didn't have to, but I got to leave and go to Nashville, and that's when stuff really kind of started happening.
And have they got you on like Homegrown Buzz yet? I think that'd be a really cool fit.
We were gonna try to do that this break. I'm literally like making a physical CD tonight. That's like what I'm doing when I get home from this.
Nice.
And hopefully we're gonna send that off. I don't really know why I never did that. I think that I didn't take my own music seriously enough to do that. And I was like, I don't know if I like have anything real, but this is the real deal. I just did an album, and that's kind of wild. Like, yeah. I want to give it to him for sure.
And so you mentioned being at Starlight a lot as a kid. So like, was musical theater like something that you were interested in, or were you just kind of just going along just because?
Well, yeah. So we would kind of go to like a mixture of those. Like, I was just like around the arts a lot when I was little. And I definitely really liked the like. Shoot. I was so small, like literally like 3 and 4. Like when I saw some of these people, I think I saw like a big like rock artist, and I cannot remember who it is right now. But like I was like, when I would see the musical theater things, I would be like, that's great. But like when I saw him, I was like, I want to do that. See, I was like so little that I don't even remember who he was, but like he influenced me, and that's pretty cool, I guess. But yeah, definitely like. I like musical theater. I understand why people like it, and I think it's like a great community to be in, like especially in Nashville. I've kind of like experienced a little bit of that there too, and that's been really cool. But ultimately, I don't think I ever like really. There was a time in high school when I like thought I really wanted to do that, but I didn't put the kind of work into that I put into the work that I released recently. So.
Oh, and. I'm sorry to ask about this, but you did mention a high school band that you're in. I always enjoy knowing about that stuff. What was that one like?
So we're gonna talk about that. Okay. Cool.
We can make it brief.
No, it's all good. It was really important for me to like grow as a person and an artist, and being in that. I did one of the Rock Band Academy things. The one that I did specifically was called Music House, and I'm really thankful for it. Like, I would not have had the confidence to just do the things that I'm doing now. Like, I think that like everything that I experienced like up until now is like a really important integral thing like in me being the artist that I am today. And I definitely, when I started Music House, like did not like I was like so reserved and like awkward and like I'm still awkward, but like I can still get out there and like say what I need to say, and I think that like part of that came from that. I wasn't writing the songs though, and I was like, this is kind of like, that kind of made me realize that I wanted to like be in creative control of everything that I was doing, and that's cool. I think you got to learn from everything.
And how long have you been playing guitar and everything since then?
Okay, so I started playing instruments when I was in like 5th grade. I started playing the cello, and I still play the cello. I love it. It's great. Like, it's like one of my favorite instruments ever.
Did that get incorporated to the new album?
There's one song where it is like in the background, and everyone was like, "You play the cello, why didn't you put it in there?" And I was just like, the first album was so experimental, and I was still like really figuring out what I wanted to do. And at the end of the day, like, the exact sound that I wanted just wasn't from the cello. And will it be in the next one? Probably. Like, I have a lot of plans for that to be in there, but just wasn't right for the first vibe. Yeah.
So you started cello in 5th grade.
No, sorry, got so distracted. I literally have the attention span of a gnat. But I started playing cello in 4th grade, and then I started doing Rock Band Academy, or it's not Rock Band Academy. I keep thinking that because that's what it's called in Nashville. I started Music House in like my freshman or sophomore year of high school, because I was like, I like won this like radio contest because I like submitted a video of me singing, and I was like, shoot, maybe I should like do this. And then I figured that was the best way to get into that. So I started at Music House like just as a vocalist. I had like never really played guitar before, and then the further along I got in that program, like the more I wanted to not just be a vocalist. Nothing against anyone who is, but like just I wanted to be creative, so I started playing guitar like my junior year or senior year. It was one of those. I was like 17 or 18. Like, I was pretty old when I started, but like when I started, it was the only thing I wanted to do. Like, I really didn't do anything else. Like, I practiced all the time, and it was just really fun for me to kind of like learn my own style as a guitarist. And I'm definitely still growing a lot there too. Like, I just started learning how to play with a pick, which is a lot. Like, most people are like, that's crazy, but just the way that it worked for me, I didn't end up doing that until like last year. But yeah, hopefully I'll get a hold of that, and we can take it in a whole new direction.
Oh yeah, because I feel like it is kind of unordinary to hear about someone who picked up guitar like so late in their like teens. Like, usually it's a pretty young thing, I feel like. But
oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's pretty cool to find out that someone like that you were able to like kind of master it so quick and like be able to incorporate it into your music that quickly. So
yeah, I would definitely say like you just gotta love it. That's like no matter what time in your life you pick it up. Like, I have friends that like didn't start till they were like 21 or something, and now they're super good. It's kind of just about loving it, I think.
And how long have like you recorded like and mixed and mastered everything on your album? How long have you been working with like recording and producing stuff?
Recording and producing. So when I started writing my own songs, I think I was about 16, I think, when I started doing that. I never really like wrote songs without the intention of them being recorded. So like, and apparently that's weird. Like, I got to Nashville and everyone was like, you write for guitar and vocals and that's all you do. And I was like, no, that's not what you do. I spent a lot of time in my room. So I just kind of would write little things on the guitar, and they would all be loop things, and I would just put them into GarageBand, or I think I was working with Audacity at that point. Like, if anyone knows what that is, it's like, yikes. But
very, very free audio software.
Oh yeah, very, very free. It's like it pays you to like own that. That's like where we are with that. But yeah, I would hold my little snowball mic up to my little crappy Yamaha amp and like do that. And then I remember like the first song I ever wrote was the first song I ever recorded as well. Like, I just really wanted to record it. I still have the audio file somewhere. It's about aliens. I talked about that before. I definitely started when I was like 16. I made a lot of little crappy recordings in my room. I didn't start like really, really taking it seriously and like wanting to learn about production and software that could improve that until honestly like the summer before my freshman year of college. I really like spent a lot of time by myself and just kind of like tried to learn the equipment that I had at that point. I had Akai keyboard that I bought from some guy, like, off of Craigslist. Like, this is, like, classic, like, cigarette butts, like, covering the whole house. And I was like, I just got there, and I was like, yeah, this is fine. Like, but I still use that, honestly. Like, I still use my Akai keyboard. I, like, have improved my software a little bit, but definitely still know my roots. I really started taking it seriously at that point, and then I released my first thing that I had ever produced the summer after that. There's a song called Hide Your Prize. It's super old. It's actually still on the album, and it's kind of still got the same elements that it had when I first did it, which was really cool for me, because that was, like, the first thing I ever produced that I liked, and I decided to keep it on the record, and that was really cool. I just rambled so bad. I'm so sorry.
And that one's on your Bandcamp too, right?
Yes, it's on my Bandcamp.
A couple versions of it, right?
There's a lot of versions of that song. I think that's just how, like, sometimes life just be like that. When you're, like, starting to produce, you just kind of do a million versions of something because you're like, I don't know what I want this to sound like. Yeah. I still do that sometimes. There's, like, a lot of versions of the title track from the album, and I kind of picked it at the last minute, but I think I feel good about it.
What type of, like, variations were, like, on the different versions that you had of it? Like, what made you want to pick the one you have?
Of the title track? There were a lot of, like, really, like, synthesized instruments in the other ones, and, like, some of them were, like, kind of really funky, and, like, I just didn't feel like it was me. Like, I felt like I was kind of trying to be, like, out there, and that's, I don't know, like, at the end of the day, I just wanted to kind of stick to my loop thing that I do all the time, but to kind of incorporate some of what I was trying to be with it as well. So it's that song's definitely, like, kind of weird, but it's normal enough, I think, that it authentically represented what I wanted to do without trying too hard, if that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah. And, something else I wanted to ask, though, because, like, since you kind of, like, well, you had been doing music kind of, you know, you'd been doing cello since you were, like, in elementary school and everything, but, like, since you kind of started to take music a little more seriously, like, later on, like, in high school and stuff, like, what do you think it was it weird for, like, your parents or, like, your friends, like, seeing you, they're like, oh, you're going to school for music? Like, you just kind of got going, like, was that a hard decision for you, or? Definitely.
And cool that you asked that again. So, like, basically the extent of what I had been doing was, like, I was, like, playing at carnivals with that band that I was in with the music house, and that was like the extent. Like, I think I played at my senior year talent show with my friend, and, like, that was, like, the first time, like, most people had heard me sing at my school, because I just, like, really kept it on the down low. It was, like, my thing just for me. And then I just kind of one day, like, decided that it wasn't. And, that was definitely, like, really striking for a lot of people in my life. I think, my parents are super supportive, like, literally the most supportive people ever. I am so lucky to have the situation that I have. But I do think that, like, they kind of wanted me to, like, have a real major. Like, when I first wanted to go to school, I was looking at out-of-state schools, and that's just tough for anybody. Like, college is so expensive, and it's crazy. It definitely, like, took some convincing, but I really thought that I was supposed to be in Nashville. I went there, and I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do right now. And I think it definitely, you just have to have faith in the people that you love, and you just gotta, like, work with it. My friends kind of did the same thing. They were like, are you really, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you going to Nashville? And I just kind of, like, I was like, you got to believe me in this moment right now. And, hopefully they believe it now.
And what is the school you're attending there?
I go to Belmont University in Nashville, which is kind of, a music business school. I'm majoring in songwriting, so I'm kind of getting those connections from it, and it's been a really good experience. Again, I'm still kind of adjusting to being there and using the most using my time the best, just like being efficient. And it's kind of weird because at the school they want you to prioritize your connections over your studies sometimes, just because that's the way that it works in the industry. And that's been really interesting for me to just kind of adjust to that.
And no, you say you're kind of majoring in songwriting, and like, do you think are you super set on like pushing your own music really hard and like that kind of thing, or do you think like do you like, are you open to like kind of ending up as like kind of an industry songwriter and like doing songs for other people?
Ooh, good question. So I have actually thought about this a lot. I love producing. I love sitting at my computer for 11 hours and like yelling at it when it crashes. I love the whole experience of it, and making an album has been probably the most rewarding thing that I've ever done for myself. So that was really interesting. This was the first project I've ever done the whole thing, produced, as you said before. I kind of just dove in and did everything, and I really kind of fell in love with that process. And the more that I think about it, the more that I do when I kind of have a creative position, when I kind of start my life. I'm actually I'm moving to Los Angeles in August, so that'll be a whole new thing, and I'll get to experience a lot of different sides of that. As far as being an industry songwriter, I have really liked the projects that I've worked on with other people, and it's been a really fulfilling experience there. But I think at the end of the day, I just love creating music. I could see myself maybe producing for other people, but I have a long ways to go with that. I have a lot to learn about mixing and mastering, and whether I do that through my own music or through working with other people, I do think that I do want to end up creating someday, and I'm excited about it.
And will you be like having a degree from Belmont at the point when you're moving, or?
So I am actually, I'm kind of doing a program with Belmont so that I can go down there and live kind of in the heart of Los Angeles for cheaper than it would be if I did not have that connection. So I'm super, super thankful for that. Like, again, I just found out about this like earlier this week. So, hello. All right.
Yeah, you can push her off if you need to.
Oh, it's okay. For the people who are maybe watching this and can't see, the cat just jumped on my lap.
Yeah. Or if you're just listening and you're like, what is happening? There is a cat here.
Yeah, that's what I meant by watching and can't see.
Yes.
Happens to the best of us. Okay, I might have to put you on the ground. Oh, never mind. She moved around. Okay. But Los Angeles, essentially when I go down there, I can just... I'm hoping to intern with this company that I've been looking at for a really long time. And what the position that I am hoping to intern in down there. Oh, this cat. You're so cute, but I need to move you. I'm sorry. Goodbye. Okay. All right. So I'm wanting to do a music supervision internship. So essentially I'll just like be listening to songs all day to be put into movies. So hopefully that will work out. But I do intend on pursuing my own music and stuff when I'm down there. And I'm not 100% sure where I'm gonna end up, and I'm not as scared about that as I used to be. So that'll be really cool. And
yeah, but also, what have been like some of your favorite kind of classes that you've ended up taking there?
I am in a music promotion class right now, which is really interesting to kind of see what role the radio plays. I'm obviously a huge fan of the Buzz. I've always loved the Buzz. They, first of all, just give kind of an option for people who aren't huge Top 40 fans, and I think that that's great. And I have always kind of really admired the way that they do that. But I've kind of been able to learn about what role the alternative stations play in alternative bands making it, and how that's changed since like the 90s. In the 90s you could make it as an alternative band, and it was so like, I don't want to say easy, but it was accessible.
Yeah.
Like, it was realistic to think that you could do that in the 90s. And it's just really interesting to... Sorry, no, go ahead.
Probably a lot more record money involved, too.
Yeah, and there wasn't, like, streaming services like Spotify that take all the royalties. Yeah. I love Spotify, don't get me wrong.
Didn't have to tour your ass off also and sell T-shirts all day.
Oh, yeah, merch is a thing that's a little bit different now. But that class has been really interesting for me. They're saying that they're predicting that we might kind of go back into that, and we might the focus might be on alternative, and it might be like on bands rather than solo acts. And I think that's really interesting, and that's really awesome. I really hope that happens, because some of my favorite local and non-local acts have been these bands that they don't have a ton of money and they have to do it on their own. And I think that that's really admirable, and I wish that more people in the industry would respect that and would notice that.
Do you know why they're saying that they think it'll go back to like being more popular?
Just because history repeats itself, and we kind of go in and out of styles, whether it be music or clothing or just the way that things are done in the industry. And they're kind of expecting that alternative rock might come back because of the things that have been happening in like politics today. There's so much to write about. There's so much to protest about. And I think a band who has a solid grip on that and really, really knows what they're talking about and really has something to say could change everything. I think that like others are going to follow. And I personally think that I would not be surprised if kind of the resistance shows itself in music and becomes popular. I think that would be awesome.
Oh, yeah, and like I haven't read like the full article and everything that came with this like piece, but I know there was like a really big like New York Times piece near the end of last year where they pretty much just like got like 20 different like female rock musicians together. And like they all kind of came from like the punk world or like the alternative rock world, and so they pretty much just sat them all down and kind of had like a State of the Union type thing where they kind of talked about like women in music and how like they're kind of responsible for bringing like rock music and these other kind of niches back to the mainstream at this point. So I think that is like definitely like a turn that's kind of comes since, you know, the Trump administration and everything. So,
you know it. That's so awesome. I actually one of my mentors from school just sent me like the top 25 most influential women in music. I'm not 100% sure if that's the same article because I don't think they were like brought together, but I think that there's like absolutely such a place for women to speak in the music industry right now. I think there's so much for women to talk about and so much that needs to be said. And I think there are so many women right now in the industry that I just can't wait to see what they release in the next couple of months or years. Yeah. I can just think of right now how many of these women are so strong politically, musically, and are just so talented and are, I'm assuming, willing and able to get that message across. And I'm really excited to see what that brings.
And that kind of a good transition there is that there are a few songs on your new album, which, by the way, is called Goodside.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to go check that out.
I did not say that earlier.
Yeah, we mentioned. But, there are a few songs on there that kind of touch on, like, kind of, like, prevalent, like, social and political themes right now. Is there any? Which ones kind of stick out to you in that regard?
I would love to talk about that. Actually, the one that I talked about earlier, Hide Your Prize, is about like a very specific situation that I witnessed. I think it's really interesting how that song is about slut shaming. It might not be as obvious because it's kind of upbeat, and that was the intent, though, just to kind of make it upbeat and just to do it that way, get it out there. And it was the first song that I produced, but it's definitely about just how people reduce women to their appearance, and I think that's really annoying. That's just one of them. That was kind of the first experiment I ever had with kind of making a statement in a song. And I know that that's kind of a weird thing to say. You'd think every song would have a statement to make, but that one was definitely a bigger picture idea than I had ever had before. And then thinking about that, Lullaby also is definitely a big, oh my gosh, Kitty. Yeah. She got back up.
A little too much.
It's time to go. I love you, but not right now. Okay, so Lullaby. That song I actually started when I was like 17, just starting to write, just starting to experience things. And I kind of talked about it briefly in the post that I made about that song. I didn't really want to give too much of it away, but I wanted to let it be known that it was about a really topical thing. I wrote it when I was 17 about a really manipulative and bad experience that I had with a male friend, and it was really unfortunate. And I kind of put it down because I didn't think that people would respect my opinion on that. And then I cringe so much when I think about that. But better late than never. I decided to talk about it, and I really wanted to like write it and put it out when the allegations about Kevin Spacey came out. That really like put a lot of things in perspective for me, because I really respected him as an actor, and I really loved a lot of his work. I almost got an American Beauty tattoo, and I'm so glad I didn't, because that film was like almost ruined for me because of it really kind of made me realize how toxic the entertainment industry can be for women, and I think it's horrible. And as somebody who like would like to be an entertainer, that's just something that I can't not speak about. I have to do it. I couldn't not write that song. I kind of said that I really wish that I hadn't had to write that song, yep. But it just had to be done. Yeah, that one for sure, I would say, has a big statement to be made. I was definitely inspired by like the Time's Up movement. I think that's awesome that that's taking wind so well and is being supported by so many people, men, women, non-binary individuals. Like that's awesome, and I'm so glad that people are respecting the voice that women have and the power that they have to use it. And that's just kind of what that song is about. Like, oh, woman, like, do this. You can. Like, it's an option. You can speak, and society is moving towards a place where it will listen, and I think that that's great.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of important stuff going on in that right now, and like it's kind of like I feel discouraged like a lot of times just because like it's not touching every genre and every like kind of sector that you kind of wish it was, but you know, hopefully it'll keep moving and reach them eventually. But
oh yeah, and I totally don't mean to like be satisfied with the place that it's at. Like, I mean, I'm still pissed. Like, I'm still angry. I'm angry that Dr. Luke was able to get away with the thing that happened with Kesha. I don't know if I'm allowed to like name drop. But I cannot believe that happened in the music industry, and it was so covered up. And this is like the industry that I thought I knew. Like, it's really, like, they don't teach you that in the music industry classes at college. Like, it's crazy that a woman would be put in that position and held in that position for so long. That's absolutely insane. And I totally think that the movement should be broadening itself and making its presence in every form of the entertainment industry. I know it's kind of focused on film right now, which it should be, because there's just so many bad things happening there, but it should be talked about in music and TV and radio. It should be talked about in every genre, and I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we head a little bit in that direction with the way that things are going, and I really hope that music can address that in every way possible.
Oh yeah, and it's even like, and I just heard like a brand new like pop song today. I mean, well, like recently, that is supposed to be like from this artist that's about to blow up this summer. I think her name's like Kim Petrus. And
I know who that is.
No, yeah, and it's kind of screwed up because like she's like kind of poised to be one of the first big like transgender pop stars, but like her like debut single is with Dr. Luke, and I'm just like, man, things need to keep changing, and yeah, there's always that.
Can we involve women on projects?
Yeah. And the moment you think things have progressed a little, you're like, oh man, that just happened. That's fun.
Really interesting. That's very strange that he is still in such a position of power and still getting work with so many people. I don't feel like I know enough about Kim to really speak about her, but she does go by her, correct?
Yeah,
okay. Just making sure. I, again, really just don't... I've heard one of her songs, and that's about the extent, but... And
it probably just is, an industry, a label thing that was kind of forced on her.
Yeah, so. I bet she didn't have much of a say in that, but it's just unfortunate that he's still in such a place of power when he is a known abuser. I mean, that's a heavy word to say, but I think it's almost fair in this situation.
So before we kind of dive back into the new album, I did want to ask you a little bit about it was the first kind of full EP that you put out after you'd left. It was Pasadena, right?
Yeah, Pasadena.
Yeah, tell me a little about recording that and how that happened.
Sure. So I was in a completely different mindset and physical place at that point in my life. I was in the crappiest dorm room. It wasn't actually that bad. It just the heater would come on every 2 minutes, and I would have to go turn it off every 2 minutes. It was one of those situations where I was just ugh, it's gonna sound bad no matter what. And I was working on my I hadn't upgraded to Logic yet at that point. And I was kind of working on my my keyboard with a German software program that I downloaded from the guy who sold me the keyboard. If you're out there, you're great, but and you've given me everything. But it was just not a super ideal setup, and I kind of fought with myself for a long time on whether or not to release it because I wanted it to be perfect. I think a lot of people go through this. You just want your first thing that you put out to really represent what you're doing and what you have to say. And the more that I think about it, the more I'm really glad that I released Pasadena. I was so unsure about it, and I didn't feel good about how it sounded, but I was I have to do something by my 20th birthday. I have to do it. That was the date I had set, and I did that, and I'm really, really glad that I did, actually. Just, if anyone remembers that, I just released it on SoundCloud. I did it day of, I was finishing the song called Another Day, the day before I put it out. It was just kind of a hot mess, but I really look back on it fondly. Pasadena's a song about a really touchy subject for me, and I kind of don't actually want to super explain it. I want people to kind of figure that out for themselves, because a lot of people have related to it in different ways, and that's really special to me. It's just a song that I really needed to write in the moment, and I still look back on it really fondly. It made it onto Goodside. And it's really, I was going to reproduce the whole thing, just tear it down and kind of start over. And I decided not to do that because I kind of wanted to keep the way it kind of sounds like it was produced in a garbage can, because that was authentically true to me at that moment. And I had to... Speaking of what we talked about earlier, the reason the song The Estate didn't make it on Goodside was because it was about a Kevin Spacey character. Had to get rid of that. But I definitely did want to keep Another Day and Pasadena as they were and put them on Goodside, because at that point, that was what was true to me. And I stand by that, even if I don't love the way that the production sounded on it. I'll sometimes look back and be ugh, I can't believe I didn't know how to EQ that, or whatever fancy word I want to use at the moment. But it was really exactly what I was feeling in that moment, and I still look back on that and smile. So
yeah, and I know your kind of production was at a different point when you were working on that EP to when you did the album, but I also kind of feel maybe I'm just not remembering it right, but Do you think that EP was a little more like kind of guitar focused than some of the stuff on the album? Like, because I feel like you got into like a lot of cool kind of like like electronic drum bits and stuff on the LP. Like, was there a lot that kind of personally changed for you between the two?
Yeah. Like that's really interesting that you brought that up. I hadn't really thought about it just in that way. It's definitely really a lot more guitar heavy, and I think I was practicing guitar a ton. I like did not want to leave my room. It was just one of those times, like I wasn't in a super great place, so I was practicing a ton, and I'm really glad that I did, because that kind of allowed me to do some of the stuff on Goodside that I probably wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't practiced in that way. Just like the song Goodside itself, like the guitar part is like decently complicated. It's just kind of masked a little bit by the rest of the production. But yeah, Pasadena is definitely more guitar heavy. I hadn't thought about that. I think that kind of came with, I was practicing a lot because I was feeling kind of down, and but it really paid off in the end, and I'm really glad that it did that I did that way. Yeah, Goodside is definitely a lot more experimental. There's a lot more like synthetic things. Because that's what I was feeling at the moment. That was true to me. I like the song Ambulance has no guitar in it whatsoever. And that was kind of weird for me, but it was kind of a challenge. Like, I feel like guitar is very comfortable for me because I can kind of hide behind it. And I really didn't want to do that at the end of Goodside, at least, because it's kind of meant to progress in a certain way and to get a little bit more out of my comfort zone as it goes on. So yeah, I definitely had not thought about how much of a crutch the guitar was for me, but I think I'm also going to kind of stop seeing it as that too. I want to, like, now that I can think about that, the next project I think is going to be an even better combination of those two kind of people that made those albums, or at least like the mindset that I was in when I was making those. Wow, that's really interesting. I'm really glad that you brought that up. I really hadn't thought of that.
And was like, were the electronic drums and the other instrumentation that you worked on the Goodside, was that stuff you just hadn't really learned until then? Like were you learning that stuff in school or something, or was that something that you had always kind of known how to do?
Well, so there's a lot of electronic drums in like Hide Your Prize, for example, and they had actually been in there since like day one. Okay. I didn't change that at all for the album. I kind of went in and like cleaned up a lot of stuff on that song, but again, I wanted to keep it authentically the way that it was when I created it. Like, I don't know, that's a really big thing for me. Like, I think that when I like kind of dive into something, like there's a reason that I picked the certain instruments and the certain vibe that it's got going on to do that. So I have been kind of experimenting with that for a long time, but I don't think I really got a good grip on it until I spent like so many hours at my computer just kind of hitting things and like hoping that it sounds right, and then like also like using the MIDI presets that I had, and just it was really fun to like kind of sit there and just like dive into it for me like that. I really like to like completely immerse myself in things, and I think that that's really kind of how I learned to do that per se. Like, I mean, I don't know if I would even say that I like know how to do it. I just sat there and worked with it until I got the sound that I wanted.
Do you have like a lot of like hardware besides your guitar and stuff that you use? My
setup is not hugely complicated. I use a ton of MIDI presets. I would even say, like, I'll go through my Logic library. I'm a huge fan of like sculpture and like alchemy, just like those things in Logic, because I think they have so much potential, and you can really manipulate the way that those sounds are happening. And just I think a lot of people would rather skip that and like buy some presets or like get real instruments, but like I really genuinely enjoy like sitting there and like beating it to death, like just like kind of really twisting it and making it work for the way that you want it to be. But honestly, I have like my little setup where I can plug my guitar in and record it. I sometimes will even I have a Mustang amp that is compatible with Logic, and I'll sometimes use that if I want like a really crappy sounding guitar. Like sometimes I just like that. But I'm still using the same MIDI keyboard that I got from that guy. Wow, he's great. I've brought him up a lot of times, but for real, that MIDI keyboard has like carried me through this whole like thing. I still use it to this day. It has so many options I wish I knew the number. I think it's an Akai 25PK. If that's wrong, I can feel everyone cringing already. But I really don't have like a hugely expensive or widely variated setup. I really just sit there and work until I get the sound that I want.
Yeah, but also I'd been going through like your Instagram and stuff, like looking at your posts about the album and everything, and there was one where you had mentioned that you did have like a bunch of health problems, and that the recording process, in addition to that, was also just kind of really emotional. And was that kind of due to writing those like kind of songs that came from those like hard experiences?
Sure.
or like what was so tough about that whole process?
Yeah, so I totally know exactly what post you're talking about. Awesome that you brought that up. Essentially, I just got really sick. Like I think my like immune system got really weak. I would say that started around like November, and that was when I really was like really getting into it and finishing recordings and like mastering and like moving on to other things, and like I really needed at that moment to like not be feeling so bad. And I had like back problems that were like keeping me from sleeping, and that was really tough being a student and trying to finish an album like entirely by myself. I also like had a job that I had to like there was just a lot going on in my life. And I think again, like I think that I'm really glad that that's the way that it happened, because the second to last track on the album would not exist had I not been feeling so horrible. Like that was another track that I started like a million years ago. And then
which one was that called?
Ambulance. And it's just like a really like kind of like intense. It's super synthesized, and I really wanted it to be that way, just kind of like distant. But it's like I was just feeling so bad, like I couldn't sleep ever, and I was in pain all the time. But I would have done this album like had I like lost both my arms or something. Like I would have done it no matter how horrible I was feeling. Like I knew that I needed to do it, and that definitely made it a really emotional process, and it kind of opened me up to write about these feelings that I didn't even really know I was having, if that makes any sense. Like I was so tired that I was able to kind of let myself feel, because like it's really easy to put up a front, and that's kind of what this album is conceptually about as a whole, just like putting up this front and not letting people in on your life, and how it's really easy to live that way, but it's ultimately probably not the best thing for you. That's like the song Goodside is like, I'm like not gonna let you see me as I really am. Like it's up to you to decide what the good side is, if it's the side that you don't let anybody see, or if it's the front that you put up. But either way, at some point it's gonna fall down, and you gotta be there to catch yourself when it does.
And since like you are in school for music and like you're working on this a lot, I'm guessing like at some point you either like gave this album to like your teachers, or like at least some of the songs. Like was that like kind of a weird moment for you, and like were you like cool with like the feedback you got from it?
Definitely really weird. I showed the title track to my current songwriting professor before I think it was like 2 days after I sent it off to like go out. Like it was sent, like there was no turning back at that point. And I think we kind of like talked more about production than the song itself. And I was like, shoot, I want to get into like whether or not like you felt that. Like I know that I have a long ways to go as a producer, and I've known that for a while. I knew that when I started making the album. I still really wanted to do it because it's, again, like I'm gonna say this a million times, but it's like authentically what I was feeling in that moment, and that's like super important to me and always will be. And I really like kind of wish that we had talked about the song as a whole, like production, lyrics, feeling as a whole. I had kind of wished that we could have done that more. And then I kind of left that feeling a little bit weird. I was like, I want to like be prepared in every way possible for like what's gonna happen when this comes out, because like I've already sent it off. Like I can't change any of the production. Like it's already set in stone. And yeah, it was definitely weird, but I'm also kind of past the point of like truly getting like insecure about what I'm creating, because like I'll always like wish that a certain thing was EQ'd better, or like I wish that like I had picked this drum sound instead of this. But as a whole, like I think that I know what I'm trying to say, and at this point I'm just like trying to figure out the best way to convey that so people feel it, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely like, I don't think I'll ever get a constructive comment and like let it eat me away like I would have when I released Pasadena. I think I would much rather just get things out in the way that they felt right in that moment. And then that kind of gives me a bit of peace when I release things, because I know that at least it was the most genuine it could be at that moment.
And so to go along with the album, you've kind of strung together like a loose kind of 4-date tour that you're on right now. So excited. So did you start off with a show in Nashville? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was kind of an experience in itself. I had it's a house show tour, and that's how it's always been advertised. And we had all the dates planned like months ago. I think I like nailed down. I really like had everything nailed down like by the end of December. I couldn't like meet with people in person because I was feeling really bad. Like I think that was like the peak of my like physical health problems. I was just feeling horrible. I was home and like didn't leave the couch very much because I was on like painkillers, and it was really rough. But so that was like around the time that I was doing that and planning that, and I was still like finishing up the mastering of the album, and it was just kind of a crazy time. But I had the plans that I had for Nashville for the house show fall through like a week before the event. And we were like, I don't know if we're gonna have to cancel. And a friend of mine pulled something together for a show at like on the roof of a coffee shop, essentially. Like it's where they hold like comedy events. And I ended up having a great show there. The crowd was awesome, and there were way more people out there than I expected to have out there. And that was just a great way to start it out. That was on Friday, so that would have been like a couple days ago on the 2nd. And then we immediately got up and drove to Atlanta the next morning. And I got like a brutal migraine, but still played that show. And that was also awesome. I had never been to Georgia before, so I feel super fortunate to have been able to do that. It was beautiful, and I got to go up in the mountains.
Right, because so you grew up in Kansas City, so it probably wasn't super hard to set up a show here, and also in Nashville since you've been there for a couple years now. But you just did Atlanta, and you're about to do Minnesota to Minneapolis. Yeah. So how did you come to pick those two spots out for shows? So
my roommate is from Georgia, and she essentially knew somebody who had a pretty cool house in kind of a remote location. It was kind of out in the woods, and offered to help me play there. I can't even believe that happened. it's really special when people let you into their home, because like when you're playing a show at a house, you don't know what's going to happen. Like I'm sure lots of people in Kansas City would get that. House shows can kind of go anywhere. Like people can bring anything. Like people can get wild, or they can just sit there and do nothing, and you never really know what's going to happen. But I had people open their home to me in Georgia, and it was an awesome experience. It was really great. And then Minneapolis, this is actually going to be the third time that I've played in Minneapolis. I went there, so I'm on spring break right now because I'm in college, but I always used it to play shows. I don't think I've ever gone on like a vacation, but it's been fun. Last time I was there, there was like a huge crowd in Minneapolis, and they were all so kind and so enthusiastic. I got that connection through a friend from high school, actually, like mutual friend of Bennett and I again. Like, I really got some great people in my life from high school that I think will always have my back and will always be willing to, again, like open their home to me. And they have always brought out the nicest people and the most encouraging and supportive environment to me when I come there. And it's just always been a really, really fun and welcoming experience to play in Minneapolis. And the more I hear about from people who play there, they also say that. So I think it's just a really welcoming place. Like, I guess that doesn't really surprise me, like the Northern welcome or whatever the phrase is. But I'm so excited to go back there. Yeah. We have some like really specific, like special things planned for there, and that's just so cool that I can even have that opportunity.
And there is like a bit of an homage to Minneapolis on the album too. Is that right?
Yeah. I was literally just going to talk about that. I don't want to give away like the thing that we're doing for them there, but I don't know when this is going to come out. But either way,
tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So it actually makes sense to not. Okay. So there's a hidden track on the album, and that was from, I played in Minneapolis over the summer, which is a great time to be in Minneapolis if you can ever go. Like, it's beautiful down there, and not freezing like it will be on Friday, but I'm still so excited. There is a track on the album, and it's like, it doesn't even have its own title. Like, it's behind another track, just like hidden in there. I feel like most people might have even skipped over it in the first listen, but it's called No Problem. And at the end of the song, I got the crowd in Minneapolis to sing the chorus, and it's like my favorite part of the album. Like, it was a time where I felt so supported, and I was in such a cool environment. And I've never lived in Minneapolis. Like, I've been there like 3 times. that's really it. Mm-hmm. And these people were so willing to do that, and I really wanted to do something special for them. So now they're all on the album.
Awesome. And so you mentioned to me earlier that you're basically just on this tour with your friend and photographer Jenna.
Yeah.
And she took the photos for the art on the album cover and everything. And so how did you get to start working with her, and what's the tour with her been like?
Yes. So Jenna and I became friends right after I graduated from South, which is kind of funny because we did go to the same high school, but we didn't really talk to each other until after that. We started working together. We shot a video for Had Your Prize, and it's really old, but like I still stand by it. It's a really like funky concept to kind of go with a funky song, and it definitely has a lot to say about what the song is about. Makes that come together a little bit more, and it's still on YouTube somewhere. You can look it up if you want to see some of Jenna's work. Her Instagram is also at Jenna X Lene. I might have just said that wrong. I'm so sorry if I did. But working with her has always been awesome. We've been working together for a really long time, and I just kind of texted her one day, and I was like, we're gonna like do this tour, like it's gonna happen. And because at that point I had gotten together some house shows, and I was like, I really want to be able to kind of introduce her work to people that otherwise maybe wouldn't have seen it. Because that's always kind of been the goal for me. Like, if I get to do things and get to have support in these communities, like why not bring someone else up with me?
Yeah.
And this tour has been awesome. I've gotten so many great photos out of it, and there's going to be a really fun video at the end of it. We're kind of like trying to capture that in a different way than the photos necessarily would. It'll be like a more like behind the scenes thing, and it's been really fun for us. Like, also just realized that like almost this entire tour has been put together by women, like whether it's Jenna or I or the people who are hosting these events and like being so willing to help me with that. Like, that's just awesome. Wow. Women are awesome.
Yeah, I think that's most of what I wanted to get to.
Sure.
But so you have a Kansas City show. What day is that
That
happening?
will be on the 10th. It is a house show, and for that reason, I'm not like super advertising the place because just out of respect for the person that's hosting me.
But people can like message you and find out about it.
Yeah, absolutely. My most of my socials are Calrie, Calrie, and yeah, just like find me on Facebook or anywhere. I'm totally willing to answer any questions. This is totally an inclusive environment. Like, again, the only reason I'm not saying it right now is just so we can have a bit of privacy for the person hosting the event. But I would love to see people there. It should be super fun and relaxed. But yeah, we're playing on the 10th, which is this Saturday. And shoot, what time is it? I think it starts at 8.
Cool.
I think that's so bad that I am not sure. But
That's fine.
yeah, just drove home yesterday, so the brain's a little bit done. But yeah.
Awesome. So also I have a few things to plug here real quick. We've got another Shuttlecock house party happening on March 17th at the Come and Go with Samurai and Rage Gang Beam Team and Gun Band. And then we have New York Oi Band, The Brass, on the 19th at the Come and Go also with Mentita and Bedroom Wounds. And you can support the show by visiting the web store. That's shuttlecockmag.bigcartel.com. There's t-shirts, photo-zines, and buttons. You can follow at shuttlecockmag on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and visit shuttlecockmusic.com for the articles and everything. Where can people listen to the album and find you and everything?
Yes. So the album is on Spotify and iTunes, as well as I just put it up on SoundCloud. Those should all be able to be found with Calrie. Super appreciate the streams that have already been happening and the support that everyone's been giving me. Also, just Instagram, Twitter. My Twitter is different. It's C4RLIE. I don't say anything important there though, so I guess just probably stick with the Spotify and the iTunes. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.